respect for the current president. And I do think that George W. Bush's language brings back a lot of memories of his dad and his granddad. They all come from that same tradition that politics should be a noble undertaking, and they get really angry seeing people like Trump even in office. I don't think anybody knows the right solution of how he ought to be punished for this. I do think a lot of people think he should be. Jim Acosta reported earlier that there's someone very, very close to Trump in the White House was saying Trump is now out of his mind. But I still think the 25th Amendment is very unlikely. I think impeachment, there's almost zero time for that. But I do think they ought to consider a vote of censure by both chambers. I think you could get a lot of Republicans on that. In 1954, that's what Congress did to Joe McCarthy, Senator Joe McCarthy, and it basically destroyed his career.
Well, and that, it's interesting when you give the possibility of something else, since it is clear at this point that the vice president is the one who was handling things today, not the president.
Yes.
All right. I appreciate both of your time very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And now we are getting ready for that joint session to resume. History continues tonight to be made. Our breaking coverage continues with Anderson.
And good evening. If you are just joining us, the Capitol, the longest standing democracy on earth, is reeling right now. The entire city under curfew. The National Guard out in force, at least 3 pipe bombs or suspected pipe bombs found and dealt with.
A few things I want to discuss.
Shot and killed in the Capitol.
But let's just,
important to
all this stuff we're watching is we're getting this news as it comes.
For the first time in
let's just let Anderson Cooper talk to the nation here for a second.
By a violent mob. Lawmakers, in the middle of carrying out their constitutional obligation of certifying the outcome of a free and fair presidential election, were first put under siege, terrorized, forced to take cover behind furniture and under their desks, and then driven out of the chamber. And compounding the obscenity, these insurrectionists took their marching orders from and wore the colors of a very small man, once considered the leader of the free world. A man who has shown himself to be a coward, who has whipped them into a frenzy with lies about the election ever since he lost more than a month ago. Then, after feeding them false hope, day after day, making money off them, about overturning the election, that's how he was making his money, claims about if they funded him, they would help him overturn the election. He repeated all of it this afternoon and then hit the go button.
We're going to walk down, and I'll be there with you. We're going to walk down. We're going to walk down anyone you want, but I think right here, we're going to walk down to the Capitol, and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women, and we're probably not going to be cheering so much for some of them, because you'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength, and you have to be strong.
Well, needless to say, he did not march with them. He slunk away to watch the carnage, that American carnage that he once talked about and has now made real. And while he watched on television from inside the White House as police officers and elected representatives were attacked, he did nothing. Nothing until he was finally persuaded to put out a couple of half-hearted calls for calm, which themselves continued to incite his followers, who he continues to call patriots. And right until the first Capitol window shattered, his Republican enablers were just fine with all of it. These are the senators who, until the coup attempt began, were objecting to the electoral count in states that the president lost. These are people who perpetuated the lie that led to the assault on the Capitol. And just in case you think they didn't know what they were doing, here's one of them, Missouri Senator Josh Hawley, raising his fist in solidarity with that very same mob shortly before violence started. Late today, the Kansas City Star calling it like it is with an editorial headline, Senator Josh Hawley has blood on his hands in Capitol coup attempt. Also late today, former President George W. Bush was no less blunt. The statement titled, President George W. Bush on Insurrection at the Capitol, reads, and I quote, Laura and I are watching the scenes of mayhem unfolding at the seat of our nation's government in disbelief and dismay. It is a sickening and heartbreaking sight. This is how election results are disputed in a banana republic, the former president wrote, not our democratic republic. He continued, I'm appalled by the reckless behavior of some political leaders since the election and by the lack of respect shown today for our institutions, our traditions, and our law enforcement. And after all that, House and Senate lawmakers are preparing to go back to work. So we first go to CNN's Phil Mattingly, who is on Capitol Hill. Phil, what is happening where you are right now?
Yeah, I think I've probably used, Anderson, the word surreal about 150 times today, but having covered this institution now for 13 years, I've simply never seen anything like what we've witnessed, not just over the last several hours, but over the last several minutes. Anderson, you had United States senators being walked from where they were being held in an undisclosed location by dozens of law enforcement officials with long guns so they could get to the Senate floor to be able to restart this process, a Senate floor that had been essentially invaded by trespassers, by rioters, while those lawmakers had been evacuated earlier in the day. Here's where things stand right now. Several Republicans I've spoken to over the course of the last several hours have made clear there has been a pressure campaign on those Republicans who plan to object. Keep in mind, one objection is actually still going on right now. Arizona, when both chambers were evacuated. They are trying to get this objection to be the last objection. Now, nothing is finalized yet, according to the people that I'm talking to right now, but several of the objectors have since come out and said things are different. As Mike Braun, an Indiana Republican, put it to reporters, we need to get this ugly day behind us. Mike Braun was one of those objectors. So the big question right now, Anderson, is given what we've seen over the course of the last 7 or 8 hours, do the objectors, do Senator Ted Cruz, Senator Josh Hawley, who you already mentioned, decide that we don't need to do 3, we don't need to do 6, 1 will be enough? It's an open question right now. One thing to keep a very close eye on. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell is expected to take the floor soon. He is expected to speak. Pay attention to those words, I'm told. They will be very strong, and they will likely lay the groundwork for what's to come over the course of the next several hours.
Let's just point out for Senator Cruz, for Senator Hawley, this is about their own presidential ambitions in 2024. This isn't some principled stand that they are making. They're lying to those people who invaded the Capitol and encouraging them. Phil, do you have any word on when Congress will actually resume the vote certification, whether those Republican objectors will carry through with their plans? I mean, even if it's shortened down to one state?
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Hello, how are you? Let me just kill the sound on this for a minute. I hope you guys are doing well today. It's been a pretty insane day. I think many people's eyes have been locked into what's been going on in Washington, D.C. at the Capitol over the last, this last few hours. Hello to everybody in the chat. Hello to everybody out there that's seeing the stream right now on various platforms. Traditionally, I do not stream CNN, but because this is such a historic day, a historic night, CNN has opened up their platform for their streaming. Usually, this is what they're doing on CNN right now. Anderson Cooper comes on, 8 o'clock Eastern. I think it's 7 o'clock Central. Yeah. He comes on traditionally as the slot here and, letting him speak to Americans at what appears to be a mob that was incited by Donald Trump on social media and in a speech that he held this morning. Hold on just a second, guys. Let Senator Bernie Sanders speak real quick. They are going to resume voting on the Electoral College votes. This did not stop what those protesters tried to do.
Our Capitol today. And we will always be grateful to the men and women who stayed at their posts to defend this historic place. To those who wreaked havoc in our Capitol today, you did not win. Violence never wins. Freedom wins. And this is still the people's house. And as we reconvene in this chamber, the world will again witness the resilience and strength of our democracy, For even in the wake of unprecedented violence and vandalism at this Capitol, the elected representatives of the people of the United States have assembled again on the very same day to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. So may God bless the lost, the injured, and the heroes forged on this day. May God bless all who serve here and those who protect this place. And may God bless the United States of America. Let's get back to work.
Historic. While President Trump has been throwing this man under the bus, he just came down to Capitol Hill.
Still joined by Senator Sanders. Senator Sanders, I'm sorry to interrupt. Have you ever seen or lived through a darker day in America?
No, it really is very, very sad for our democracy, for our
Now, I
country.
will say, I think a darker day in America was there's been some terrorist attacks that have happened, right?
Who
This
not
is
only
historic.
is a pathological liar, somebody who lost an election by 7 million votes, lost the Electoral College, but is prepared, Anderson, to
Senator
do
Sanders,
anything.
I'm sorry, sir. I have to go to Senator McConnell is speaking. I
Okay,
apologize. sir.
I'm going
to let
this
Yeah,
play,
guys.
All right,
I'm going to let this
Bye-bye.
play, Senator McConnell.
Or threats. We will not bow to lawlessness or intimidation. We are back at our posts. We will discharge our duty under the Constitution and for our nation. And we're going to do it tonight. This afternoon, Congress began the process of honoring the will of the American people and counting the Electoral College votes. We've fulfilled this solemn duty every 4 years for more than 2 centuries. Whether our nation's been at war or at peace, under all manner of threats, even during an ongoing armed rebellion and the Civil War, the clockwork of our democracy has carried on. The United States and the United States Congress have faced down much greater threats than the unhinged crowd we saw today. We've never been deterred before and will be not deterred today. They tried to disrupt our democracy. They failed. They failed. They failed to attempt to obstruct the Congress. This failed insurrection only underscores how crucial the task before us is for our republic. Our nation was founded precisely so that the free choice of the American people is what shapes our self-government and determines the destiny of our nation. Not fear, not force, but the peaceful expression of the popular will. Now, we assembled this afternoon to count our citizens' votes and to formalize their choice of the next president. Now we're going to finish exactly what we started. We'll complete the process the right way, by the book. We'll follow our precedents, our laws, and our Constitution to the letter. And we will certify the winner of the 2020 presidential election. Criminal behavior will never dominate the United States Congress. This institution is resilient. Our democratic republic is strong. The American people deserve nothing less.
Democratic leader.
Mr. President, it is very, very difficult to put into words what has transpired today. I have never lived through or even imagined an experience like the one we have just witnessed in this Capitol. President Franklin Roosevelt set aside December 7th, 1941, as a day that will live in infamy. Unfortunately, we can now add January 6th, 2021, to that very short list of dates in American history that will live forever in infamy. This temple to democracy was desecrated, its windows smashed, our offices vandalized. The world saw Americans' elected officials hurriedly ushered out because they were in harm's way. The House and Senate floors were places of shelter until the evacuation was ordered, leaving rioters to stalk these hallowed halls. Lawmakers and our staffs, average citizens who love their country, serve it every day, feared for their lives. I understand that one woman was shot and tragically lost her life. We mourn her and feel for her friends and family. These images were projected to the world. Foreign embassies cabled home their home capitals to report the harrowing scenes at the very heart of our democracy. This will be a stain on our country, not so easily washed away. The final, terrible, indelible legacy of the 45th President of the United States, undoubtedly our worst. I want to be very clear. Those who perform these reprehensible acts cannot be called protesters. No, these were rioters and insurrectionists, goons and thugs, domestic terrorists. They do not represent America. They were a few thousand violent extremists who tried to take over the Capitol building and attack our democracy. They must and should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law, hopefully by this administration, if not, certainly by the next. They should be provided no leniency. I want to thank the many of the Capitol Hill Police and Secret Service and local police who kept us safe today and worked to clear the Capitol and return it to its rightful owners and its rightful purpose. I want to thank the leaders, Democrat and Republican, House and Senate. It was Speaker Pelosi, Leader McConnell, Leader McCarthy, and myself who came together and decided that these thugs would not succeed, that we would finish the work of that our Constitution requires us to complete in the very legislative chambers of the House and Senate that were desecrated, but we know always belong to the people and do again tonight. But make no mistake, my friends, today's events did not happen spontaneously. The president who promoted conspiracy theories that motivated these thugs, the president who exhorted them to come to our nation's capital, egged them on. He hardly ever discourages violence and more often encourages it. This president bears a great deal of the blame. This mob was in good part President Trump's doing, incited by his words, his lies. This violence, in good part, his responsibility, his everlasting shame. Today's events certainly would not have happened without him. Now, January 6th will go down as one of the darkest days in recent American history. A final warning to our nation about the consequences of a demagogic president, the people who enable him, the captive media that parrots his lies, and the people who follow him as he attempts to push America to the brink of ruin. As we reconvene tonight, let us remember, in the end, all this mob has really accomplished is to delay our work by a few hours. We will resume our responsibilities now, and we will finish our task tonight. The House and Senate chambers will be restored good as new and ready for legislating in short order. The counting of the electoral votes is our sacred duty. Democracy's roots in this nation are deep, they're strong, and they will not be undone, ever, by a group of thugs. Democracy will triumph, as it has for centuries. So to my fellow Americans who are shocked and appalled by the images on their televisions today and who are worried about the future of this country, let me speak to you directly. The divisions in our country clearly run deep, but we are a resilient, forward-looking, and optimistic people, and we will begin the hard work of repairing this nation tonight, because here in America, we do hard things. In America, we always overcome our challenges. I yield the floor.
Mr. President,
Majority Leader.
I yield 2 minutes to the Senator from Oklahoma, Senator Lankford.
Senator from Oklahoma.
The Vice President, you said things more eloquently than how we say it in Oklahoma. In Oklahoma, we'd say something like, why in God's name would someone think attacking law enforcement and occupying the United States Capitol is the best way to show that you're right? Why would you do that? Rioters and thugs don't run the Capitol. We're the United States of America. We disagree on a lot of things, and we have a lot of spirited debate in this room. But we talk it out, and we honor each other, even in our disagreement. That person is not my enemy. That's my fellow American. And while we disagree on things and disagree strongly at times, we do not encourage what happened today, ever. I want to join my fellow senators in saying thank you to the Capitol Hill Police, the law enforcement, the National Guard, the Secret Service, who stood in harm's way while we were here debating. They were pushing back. And I was literally interrupted mid-sentence speaking here because we were all unaware of what was happening right outside this room because of their faithfulness and because of what they have done. And I want to thank them. Ronald Reagan once said, peace is not the absence of conflict. It is the ability to handle conflict by peaceful means. The peaceful people in my state in Oklahoma want their questions answered, but they don't want this, what happened today. They want to do the right thing, and they also want to do it the right way. They want to honor the constitutional process, but they also want to have debate about election security because they want to make sure it's right, which is why it's an important issue that still needs to be resolved. Transparency in government just doesn't seem like a bad idea. Obviously, the commission that we have asked for is not going to happen at this point, and I understand that. And we're headed towards tonight, towards the certification of Joe Biden to be the president of the United States. And we will work together in this body to be able to set a peaceful example for the days ahead. I yield the floor.
Democratic Leader.
Senator from Nevada, Senator Cortez Masto.
Senator from Nevada.
Mr. Vice President, I know that this room is full of leaders of both parties who love this country, and many believe that for America to succeed, our politics must find common ground. And that has never been clearer than today, when armed rioters stormed the U.S. Capitol, emboldened by President Trump's false and inflammatory rhetoric about the 2020 elections. I believe that we in this chamber have a special duty as leaders to work together to lower the temperature of our politics. And I hope that my colleagues who have questioned the legitimacy of this election in Arizona and all of these other states now see the dire and dangerous consequences of sowing doubt and uncertainty. I also know that as U.S. senators, we all take solemnly the oath we swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. At this moment in history, I can think of nothing more patriotic than renewing our faith in the charters of freedom that our founding fathers crafted for our republic, starting with the fundamental American principle in our Declaration of Independence that governments derive their just powers from the consent of the governed. The people have spoken in this election, and our only job here today is to do what they ask. It is not to argue election security. That's not the place for what we are doing today. Our Constitution specifically reserves to the people the right to meet in their respective states and vote for the president and vice president. As a result, individual states oversee and implement the election process, not the federal government. To guard against fraud or irregularities in the voting process, the states are required to have robust election security measures. Likewise, state legislatures have the opportunity to examine evidence of voter fraud before they certify their electoral college votes. And our courts, from district courts to the United States Supreme Court, adjudicate legal challenges and election disputes. All of those things happened after the 2020 election. State houses and courts across the country took allegations of voter fraud seriously and followed the constitutional process to hear challenges to this year's elections. No state found evidence of any widespread voter fraud, and neither did any court ask to review the state's findings. In Arizona, Republican Governor Doug Ducey, Democratic Secretary of State Katie Hobbs, Republican Attorney General Mark Brnovich, and State Supreme Court Chief Justice Robert Brutinel all certified the results of the election on November 30th. And we have heard Arizonans have been voting by mail for almost 30 years. And Governor Ducey has expressed confidence in the state's process numerous times. In November, he said, "We do elections well here in Arizona. The system is strong, and that's why I have bragged on it so much." He further stated, "We have some of the strongest election laws in the country, laws that prioritize accountability and clearly lay out our procedures for conducting, canvassing, and even contesting the results." And they are right. Arizona has one of the most transparent election processes in the country, with built-in accountability, starting with internal auditing. We have heard unfounded allegations that voting machines in Arizona and elsewhere somehow changed vote tallies or somehow improperly rejected ballots while claiming to accept them. These allegations all ignore the fact that Arizona counties conducted ballot audits by hand to double check the machine counts, and these audits found no widespread fraud or irregularities. Maricopa County, the county where more than 60% of the state population resides, conducted a post-election hand count audit in the week after the election, which showed perfect 100% accuracy in the machine tabulations. So why would we need, my colleagues, to call for a 10-day emergency audit to be conducted by a legislative commission when it's already been done by the state of Arizona? What happened to states' rights? The audit involved checking ballots for the presidential election, but also ballots for federal and state legislative elections. The audit report shows every precinct's machine and hand count totals for each of the races audited. And for every single race in every precinct, the difference between the hand count and the machine count was 0. Maricopa's audit report stated no discrepancies were found by the hand count audit boards. Seeking to find any reason to contest these results, some of the state Republicans then tried to claim that Maricopa County failed to follow state law in conducting this audit by selecting voting center locations to audit instead of voting precincts. This was wrong. And this too went to a court. In rejecting this claim, state court in Arizona found that the county followed the properly issued guidance on hand audit procedures from the Arizona Secretary of State. And the court found that Maricopa County officials, therefore, could not lawfully have performed the hand count audit the way the plaintiffs wanted it done. If they had done so, they would have exposed themselves to criminal punishment.
The senator's 5 minutes is expired.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I would close by just saying, please, my colleagues, do not disenfranchise the voters of Arizona and certify their votes tonight. Thank you.
Majority Leader.
Mr. President, I yield up to 5 minutes to the senator from Utah, Senator Lee.
Senator from Utah.
Mr. President, at the time I prepared my remarks for today,
Okay. So guys, hello to everybody who's in the chat. You know,
that we saw earlier today, and I think the reality
hold on just
of
a
the
sec.
implications of what's gone.
So just wanted to kind of follow up with you guys on a few things that's happened since I, stopped the live. So there is some video that has come out. I don't think there's going to be any way for, people to stop this video. It's pretty much viral at this point. The woman that was shot in the Capitol, there was a question in the chat about that. And basically what was going on is this mob of had gotten to essentially an area that had been closed. The doors were shut, they were locked, and they started breaking the windows, to get in. Now, I can't show this video right now during this live stream, but you can go over to my LeakU channel. I'll throw a link here in the chat where you can actually go and see that particular video. Let me grab the link for that just really quick. It is viewer discretion advised, just so that you know. It's been labeled as such. It has been uploaded with essentially, you got to log in and say, you're over 18. I have an account. I know this video will become pretty well known. You can see this woman climb up into the window to go through, to get through this locked area, and police literally shoot. She falls back and she pretty much died pretty quick. The video is graphic. It's not too graphic to show on YouTube for the context of things. But I don't want to show it too much. So if you want to see it, go over there in the link I just put in the chat. You can go and see that raw video. And, it's all labeled properly as far as, being labeled for adults, that sort of a thing. It's the type of video that it's just not going to come off social media, basically, is what I'm saying. On top of this happening, Mike Pence and the Republican Party are literally coming into to the Capitol tonight, right after all of this happened, to reconvene and finish the tally of the Electoral College votes, which sparked all of this. And Twitter, thank you, Twitter. Twitter finally took a stand against Donald Trump. Donald Trump's account has been locked. He cannot tweet from his account. We watched Donald Trump use social media to absolutely incite this situation that happened today. He posted a video, almost a prepared video. We definitely streamed it here after this incident happened, or while this was happening. But Facebook and Twitter has since removed it. It was Donald Trump coming on, and he's still complaining that the election was not fair to him. Tonight, you are witnessing the Republican Party turn on him. Vice President Pence is at the head there. It makes a huge statement to see Vice President Mike Pence make that statement and then proceed to lead lawmakers into this certification count of the Electoral College votes, which goes against Donald Trump. It is finally almost worthy of being called a 25th Amendment move on Vice President Mike Pence's part, but we know he's not enacting the 25th Amendment, but it is a move similar to what we would see from Vice President Pence and lawmakers. They have essentially isolated Donald Trump. He's isolated at the White House. He's not saying anything. His Twitter account's been locked. He can't tweet. Hopefully Twitter also locked his POTUS account. It's gotten out of control. Donald Trump has way too much reach. We watched a mob of now they're saying don't call them protesters, call them domestic terrorists, who stormed the Capitol building today, trying to stop this process, all on Donald Trump's speech. He told them to go march. 14 more days for the inauguration. Thank you, Tracy. 14 more days. Donald Trump knew it was down to the wire, guys. 2 weeks left. He knew it was down to the wire. I have a feeling that Donald Trump just checked out. I think he's done. He cannot come back from this. Let's watch a little bit more of this historic video here.
United States Senate, I don't think you're going to see 3 objections or 4 more objections. I think this is going to be the only debate. I think everybody wants this day to end as quickly as possible and to try to pick up and move forward. I'm encouraged by the comments I hear from both sides of the aisle, and I would just say that that's a great place to start. I would just caution for everybody that's been active on social media and the media and everybody else on both sides. Maybe we can all learn a lesson and try to tone down the temperature here a little bit. Joe Biden is not going to be successful. We're not going to bring this country together if we continue the rhetoric at the level that we have seen. And I just encourage that maybe this horrible thing that happened today, as Van said, can maybe have us all sort of say, let's step back a little bit here and let's not be as incendiary as we might want to be and try to set a new course. We have a new president coming in a few days. Let's try to make it an opportunity for unity that he wants to accomplish.
Jim Trudeau is standing by. He has some new reporting on the ground. Jim, where are you? What are you learning?
Anderson, I'm on Independence Avenue, just outside the Capitol. You can see it there. Of course, the flags are up because they're in session. But I just want to describe to you the phalanx of security now deployed around the Capitol, because the squad car here, squad cars you can see there, but may not be able to see it. But that whole line of cars up the hill there, that is police. It continues the length of Independence Avenue down here. And every couple of minutes, we see a convoy of police, sometimes on foot, sometimes in vehicles. And I have to tell you, Anderson, I've covered elections around the world. I have never seen a security presence like this in my experience. The only comparison as I was sitting here watching this might have been Iraq, the first parliamentary elections there with the threat of terrorism all around. But to see this today in the nation's capital, alarming.
Yeah, it's interesting to see it tonight. Jim, I'm wondering where were they earlier in the day when it was known that there was going to be this huge rally? We've known this for weeks now. We knew the president was going to speak at it. We knew he was going to be incendiary. I don't understand what happened here.
It makes no sense, Anderson. I spent the afternoon speaking to people in national security, people who served as commissioner of police, people who served for the Department of Homeland Security. They can't explain it. I don't know if you remember this, but in 1998, Anderson, you remember the Capitol Hill shooting? 2 officers were killed in Capitol Hill. They revamped the entire security of the building, then created a whole new underground entrance to protect the people inside. And today, dozens of them marched inside with minimal at all resistance. And we know weapons were confiscated. We know that pipe bombs were found. People's lives were in danger. It's an enormous security failure. That is the second headline from this, beyond the shock, of course, is how this was allowed to happen.
Yeah, whether it's
who's
Capitol
Police, but also what steps will be taken,
whether it's Capitol
to prevent
Police,
it from happening again. Whether
DC
it's Capitol
City
Police, exactly,
National Guard. What? I mean, there's a huge failure here. Department of Homeland Security that obviously needs to be looked into. Jim, I appreciate you being out there. We've got video of the fatal shooting at the Capitol today. A warning first, it's not easy to watch.
I'm going to let this play.
To air it lightly. That said, in light of all that surrounds it and all that's transpired today, we think it is important because this actually happened. In that context, if you'd rather not watch, now would be the time to look away. It's about 11 seconds.
What you're seeing is the video. The one that I put the link in the chat earlier is a much clearer version of this.
Two people who were there join us now, documentary filmmaker Jade Sacker and left-wing activist John Sullivan. John, you filmed this moment on your phone. Can you describe what happened?
Yeah, so basically all the protesters kind of stormed to get into the chamber. We tried to get into the main entrance right when you walk down the hallway. But that being said, nobody was able to get in because there's 2 guards refusing to move. People there were not really wanting to hurt the police. So they went down a different alleyway. They went to the left of
Should John be in handcuffs tonight?
Took a right down the hallway that entered into
Think
that
about
glass
that.
window scene that you see. There were about 4 or 5 police officers right at the forefront, and I remember just coming up and seeing one of them crying, saying they want to go home to their kids, and
one of the police officers
were just. Yeah, one of the police officers. It was kind of like a scene out of a movie, and I couldn't believe it because all you see is thousands of these protesters kind of converge on them, yelling, saying, "Let us in here! Let us in here! We're not trying to hurt you." I ended up talking to a few of them. I said, "Hey, we can just make a path for you to get through. By no means am I there on the Trump side or the MAGA side, but I don't want to see people get hurt unnecessarily, especially when there should be a better way to go about it." So I allowed and told everybody to just let them through. They're willing to go peacefully and just put down their arms and they walk through.
So how was this lady shot? I mean, she was trying to get through the door, and did you see who shot her?
Yeah. So I was getting to that part. So immediately after, they started breaking through the glass. Once they broke through the glass, they were using flagpoles and whatever they had to kind of bash through the windows. On the right-hand side, this lady was able to make her way all the way through the window. All we see is these guns come out the doorways, just guns. And all you can see is their hand. That's it. You can see faces. And right when I saw that, I was yelling to people. I was like, "Guys, there's guns. There's guns. You don't want to go through there." They were they were going to shoot, not just hold it there and run away. They were literally going to shoot to kill. The
Get it
that she
out,
climbed through the window,
dude.
she got shot right in the neck area, fell backwards, and I just remember the sense of shock and sorrow that somebody just died. and did not need to die because she didn't have a weapon. She wasn't being violent in any way. We just let police officers through. We weren't trying to hurt anybody at that moment in time.
So
From
just
what
to
I can tell,
be clear, was it a police officer who shot her?
I don't know if it was police or a private
Now
security
he's
guard.
being
I
all-
couldn't see what they were wearing.
What were you
I only
doing
can
there,
assume it
sir?
would have been police based on everything that we've met
That's
up
what I
until
wanna
that
know.
point.
So they were in an area that protesters were trying to get, or rioters were
Correct.
trying to get into?
Yes, they were.
Is that what you're basing it on? I mean, was it an area that
They were in an area. The
some of
police
these
were in an
rioters
area
had
the
already-
rioters were trying
already
to get
inside
to.
of?
Hey, Steph.
Or was it an area they were trying to get into that the shot came from?
So it was an area that was the area that was completely blocked off. They had chairs up against the doorway.
Here, if you guys want to see this interview, you guys can over, just check it out. They'll put a clip on CNN.com or YouTube. But the point of the matter is this woman was climbing. She was the first one in to this window. And I'm going to go ahead now that this is taking this direction. Give me just a second. Give me just a second. I'm going to show this. One second. Let's take a look at this video, the actual video of this happening. I'm going to go ahead and play a portion of this woman who was shot and killed at the Capitol today. Viewer discretion is advised. Okay. Viewer discretion, again, is advised. I want you to mostly listen to what's being said. It's hard to miss, but I'm not going to let... Okay, so if you've seen that part, you see the woman fall back after being shot while trying to climb through the window, okay? That's just the facts. Okay, now what I want y'all to hear is the fact of what is being said. Now, again, if you guys want to go see this video, you can go over to my other channel, my backup channel. This is what it's labeled. It's graphic with a pipe. And then a woman shot at Capitol Hill. Pipe, viewer discretion advised. Pipe is the up and down character that you see here highlighted. That is what we call a pipe character. But I want y'all to understand a lot of the words that were being said. This crowd was absolutely encouraging, trying to get through those locked doors. When this woman was shot as she was climbing into the chamber by police officers on the other side, she was pretty much killed instantly. There is video all over Twitter that you can watch. There's about 3 or 4 different video recordings of this incident. Okay, so again, look at the massive amount of people here.
Ladies and gentlemen, the lady was just shot. She might be dying right now.
He's trying to reason with these people.
They will not come. They go home. They go home. We got to get her out of here. Hey,
Look at the people. Look at their faces. Do you recognize any of these people?
everybody make a fucking hole.
Who news agencies are calling domestic terrorists. Look at this MAGA crowd, okay? There's also a news report with this man who happened to be standing there when the woman was shot and just completely fell back. She was pretty much dead instantaneous. Okay, so that's for those of you that can stomach that kind of content. It became a very scary situation, and then one of their own, got shot, so to speak. Again, Donald Trump encouraged this. He encouraged this. this morning during a speech. Let's see what's going on with the joint session of Congress. Let's see where they are with the Electoral College count. Of course, making their money. All right. Let's see where they're at.
Before me. And some of these people, I mean, they're just so brainwashed. They don't understand.
All right. Well, I'm not going to listen to the call-ins. They're obviously taking some call-ins. They are counting the Electoral College votes. They will be certified. It's absolutely amazing to me to see Vice President Mike Pence lead this session of Congress tonight. We see a complete break within the Republican Party. The Republican Party has broken with Donald Trump. It is official. It is obvious. They have broken with Donald Trump. Again, Pence did a statement earlier when this all started. Let's just watch that part again, and then I'm going to be ending this. It's the solemn. I mean, this session was so solemn when they began, with Nancy Pelosi standing there. Here comes, we've got multiple lawmakers coming into the chamber. Some are just sitting there looking stunned. Nancy Pelosi looks very solemn. He has tears in his eyes. Some of these lawmakers have tears in their eyes. I know the vice president is about to enter. And this was just moments ago. By the way, Melania Trump's chief of staff has resigned from their duties at the White House. So the president's wife's chief of staff has resigned. There's Vice President Mike Pence coming in. Just historic moments. Donald Trump is like he's on an island by himself at this point politically, as far as many of people are concerned. I believe many of people in the Republican Party have just broke ranks with him. I think we'll be seeing a lot of Republicans making statements over the next day or so. It's just interesting. This guy right here, where my mouse is, I swear, this guy's been working down there for since I can remember. Let's get to
comes to order for this important historic meeting. Let us remind that each side, House and Senate, Democrats and Republicans, each have 11 members allowed to be present on the floor.
Is Mike Pence just trying to save his career at this point?
At the guidance
That's what I wonder.
Of the
He stood by complicit in all the other stuff Trump's been doing.
And the sergeants at arms. The gentleman on the Republican side of the aisle will please observe the social distancing and agree to what we have 11 members on each side so that we can responsibilities to this chamber, to this responsibility, and to this House of Representatives. Please exit the floor if you do not have an assigned role from your leadership. You can share with your staff if you want to have a few more, but you cannot be that close together, floor of the House, with that many people in here. And I thank the Senate and the Democrats for getting by the rules. Let's go. Let's just start. Okay.
It's almost disgusting to see this man, but you
Madam
know,
Speaker and members of Congress,
see what he has to say.
pursuant to the Constitution and the laws of the United States. The Senate and House of Representatives are meeting in joint session to verify the certificates and count the votes of the electors of the several states for President and Vice President of the United States. After ascertainment has been had that the certificates are authentic and correct in form, the tellers will count and make a list of the votes cast by the electors of the several states. The tellers on the part of the two houses have taken their places at the clerk's desk. Without objection, the tellers will dispense with the reading of the formal portions of the certificates. After ascertaining that the certificates are regular in form and authentic, the tellers will announce the votes cast by the electors for each state, beginning with Alabama, which the parliamentarians advise me is the only certificate of vote from that state and purports to be a return from the state, and that has annexed to it a certificate from an authority of that state purporting to appoint or ascertain electors. Mr. Blunt. For what purpose does the gentleman from Virginia rise?
Point of order, parliamentary inquiry, Mr. Vice President. In order to follow with the Speaker's instructions that only a limited number of people be on the floor, may I ask how one would make an objection or make a parliamentary inquiry in the future if you're not on the floor but in the gallery?
That gets so specific, right?
8, and that has annexed to it a certificate from an authority of that state.
All right. Well,
purporting to appoint
you
or
guys,
ascertain-
C-SPAN is, you know, public for you guys to go watch, and it's, you know, it's insane. All right, guys, I'm going to end the live. It's been enough for today. I've just had enough of this. I can't even take anymore. I'm still just like reeling a little bit from this because I just cannot believe what happened. And I, you know, by the way, when y'all get a chance, check out Twitter. Check out Twitter and check out just some of, let me just show you quickly, some of the photos that are coming out, some of the videos that are coming out. You know, someone literally flew the Confederate flag in the Senate. We had maniacs, this crazy guy at the speaker's chair with some sort, you know, with this little thing on his head, whatever. They made a mockery. They made a complete mockery of these people, just made a complete mockery. This is the Confederate flag literally flying in our Capitol building. It's unbelievable. You can see how people just rushed in. Police were trying to de-escalate the situation. There's many men, especially that there was one man who was in Nancy Pelosi's office. The picture has now went viral. I'll show y'all that just really quick before I I get out of here. Let me show you guys this really quick. This guy here, Richard Big O Barnett, age 60, from Gravette, Arkansas, took an envelope from Speaker Pelosi's office. He said he did not steal it. He said he left a quarter on her desk. He then proceeded to call her the B word and said additional very disrespectful things while bragging about putting, he put his feet up on her desk, totally disrespected it. This is another person in Pelosi's office with a MAGA hat on. It's crazy, guys. It's insane what happened today. But let's see what happens over the next 24 hours. Again, 3 tweets have been removed from Donald Trump's account, and he is on lock right now. He cannot tweet for at least 12 hours. The only time that a ban has ever been put on his Twitter account. So, all right, guys. I will talk to y'all later next time, okay? Y'all keep an eye out on all this crazy stuff and stay safe. I'll be in the bushes somewhere.